something about those 70s alien invasion flicks that just hits different, you know? I'm talking about that grainy film quality, those practical effects that somehow look more real than today's CGI, and storylines that crawled under your skin and stayed there. I still remember being a kid, sitting cross-legged way too close to our old wood-paneled TV, completely mesmerized by these cosmic visitors. Sometimes they came in peace, sometimes they definitely didn't, but they were always fascinating. The 70s was this perfect sweet spot for science fiction, coming right after the space race when we were all looking up at the stars, wondering, what if? But before the blockbuster era turned everything into explosions and one-liners, these movies had heart, had ideas, had genuine creepiness that stuck with you. So grab your popcorn, maybe even throw in some pop rocks for that authentic 70s snack experience. And let's take a trip back to when aliens first invaded my imagination. And yours too, probably. If you're digging this nostalgic journey through the stars, smash that subscribe button so we can keep these cosmic conversations going. Now let's count down my personal top 13 alien invasion movies from the 1970s that, honestly, I still re-watch at least once a year. Trust me, they hold up better than my high school yearbook photos. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977. Number 10 on our list, but number 1 in my childhood nightmares, Close Encounters. I was maybe 9 or 10 when my dad rented this on VHS. That scene where little Barry gets abducted, I slept with my bedroom door locked for weeks. But what really got me was that 5-note musical sequence they used to communicate with the aliens. I drove my parents crazy humming it around the house. The way Spielberg builds the tension through the whole movie is just masterful. Richard Dreyfuss becoming totally obsessed, sculpting that mountain out of mashed potatoes. I totally get it now. And those lights in the sky, the way they dance. No CGI, just pure movie magic. The first time those massive ships appeared over Devil's Tower, I got this weird tingly feeling down my spine that I still get whenever I rewatch it. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Talk about a movie that messed me up. I caught this one late night on TV when I was supposed to be asleep. That ending with Donald Sutherland pointing and doing that alien scream? I literally couldn't look at my teacher the same way for weeks, convinced she might be a pod person. What makes this remake so brilliant is the setting. San Francisco in the 70s, all that post-hippie paranoia. Everyone's into self-help and psychology, while literal aliens are replacing them. And that scene with the dog with a human face still makes me shudder. I remember pausing my VHS tape and rewinding it like, did I really just see that? The genius thing about Body Snatchers is how it plays on that very human fear. What if the people you love aren't really themselves anymore? Hey, if you're loving this trip down memory lane, hit that subscribe button. Alien, 1979. I actually didn't see Alien until I was in high school. And thank goodness, because I would have been scarred for life seeing it any younger. My buddy Mike snuck the VHS from his older brother's collection, and we watched it during a sleepover. Let me tell you, nobody slept much that night. What blew me away wasn't just the chest-burster scene, though, yeah, that was intense, but how lived-in everything felt. The Nostromo wasn't some shiny Star Trek spaceship. It was basically a grimy space truck with a crew of blue-collar workers just trying to make a living. Sigourney Weaver as Ripley was unlike any hero I'd seen before. And that alien design by H.R. Geiger? It's like someone reached into my subconscious and pulled out something I was already afraid of without knowing it. Those mechanical jaws inside jaws. The eyeless head. I remember we had to pause the movie several times just to catch our breath. What was your first experience seeing Alien? When did you first encounter it? The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976. I stumbled across this one at a weird little video store that had all these obscure films. The owner, this guy with crazy long hair tied back in a ponytail, insisted I had to watch it. It's David Bowie as an alien, he said. I mean, how could I resist that pitch? Bowie was already this otherworldly figure to me, so casting him as Thomas Jerome Newton, an alien who comes to Earth to get water for his dying planet, was just perfect. There's this scene where he's watching like a dozen TVs simultaneously, absorbing all this information, and I swear I felt like I was watching something I wasn't supposed to see. The film has this dreamy, disorienting quality that makes you feel like you're the alien. It's not action-packed. It's more about isolation and what happens when someone completely different tries to exist in our world. I remember watching it in my basement apartment during a rainstorm, which somehow was the perfect setting. If you're vibing with these deeper cuts, smash that subscribe button for more hidden gems. Star Wars, 1977. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Star Wars isn't an alien invasion movie. But hear me out. That cantina scene alone introduces more alien species in 5 minutes than most sci-fi movies do in their entire runtime. And isn't the Empire basically an invasive force throughout the galaxy? I was 6 when my dad took me to see this. We stood in line for what felt like forever. And I had to pee so bad but refused to leave because I was terrified of losing our spot. The moment that Star Destroyer filled the screen at the beginning, stretching on seemingly forever, I forgot all about my bladder issues. What struck me as a kid wasn't just the cool ships and laser battles, but how casually all these different aliens just existed together. Greedo, Chewbacca, those cantina musicians. The universe felt massive and lived in. I spent the entire summer of '77 making my action figures recreate scenes over and over in my backyard. The Andromeda Strain, 1971. This one's for the science nerds. My science teacher actually showed parts of this in class when we were studying microorganisms. I immediately begged my mom to take me to the library to find the book and then the video store for the movie. What freaked me out about the Andromeda Strain was how plausible it all seemed. No flying saucers or little green men, just a microscopic alien organism that turns blood to powder instantly. That scene where they discover an entire town dead, except for an old man and a crying baby, total nightmare fuel. I was fascinated by those scientists in their white clean room suits, working against the clock in that underground lab with all those decontamination procedures. It felt like watching a documentary from the future. The movie takes its time, building tension through science rather than action. I remember trying to recreate the lab setup with my chemistry set, much to my parents' concern. What's your favorite science-heavy alien movie? Drop it in the comments below. Phase 4, 1974. Not many people talk about Phase 4, and honestly, that's a crime. I found this gem during a late-night channel surfing session when I was in college. Couldn't sleep, flipped on the TV at like 3 a.m., and suddenly I'm watching these super intelligent ants building these weird geometric structures in the desert. The movie's directed by Saul Bass, the guy who did all those famous movie title sequences, and it's his only feature film. The microphotography of the ants is incredible. There are these close-up shots where you can see their mandibles and antennae moving, and somehow Bass makes them seem calculating, almost sinister. The premise is wild. Cosmic rays trigger a leap in ant evolution, and they start working together as a hive mind against humans. What stuck with me was this sense of insignificance. We think we're the dominant species, but what if something as tiny as ants just decided one day that our time was up? I still get a little anxious when I see anthills in my yard. Anyone else fascinated by insect invasion movies? They don't make them like this anymore. Westworld, 1973. All right, hear me out on this one too. I'm stretching the definition of alien again, but Westworld absolutely deserves a spot here. Instead of creatures from another planet, we've got robots who become the other among us. I caught this at a midnight movie screening in college, and it blew my mind. Yul Brynner as the gunslinger robot is the stuff of nightmares. Those reflective eyes, that relentless walk. There's this scene where they show his perspective, all pixelated and computer-like, and in 1973, that was revolutionary. The way he hunts Richard Benjamin through the park is pure horror. What makes Westworld so effective is how it plays with this idea of entertainment turning deadly. These robots were created for our amusement, but what happens when they stop playing along? Long before Terminator or The Matrix, Westworld was asking some pretty uncomfortable questions about our relationship with technology. If you're loving these deep dives into sci-fi history, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more nostalgic journeys. Soylent Green, 1973. So technically, this is more dystopian sci-fi than alien invasion. But the way Earth becomes alien and unrecognizable due to overpopulation and environmental collapse makes it feel like an invasion story to me. I remember watching this on a scratchy VHS tape that kept glitching during the most intense scenes. The year 2022 seemed so impossibly far away when I first saw this movie. Charlton Heston investigating murder in this sweaty, overcrowded New York, where real food is a luxury, and most people survive on these processed wafers called Soylent Green. That scene where his friend Sol gets to experience the luxury of assisted suicide while watching images of the natural world that no longer exists. I'm not ashamed to admit I teared up. And that ending. Even if you've never seen the movie, you probably know the famous twist. I won't spoil it here, but I remember sitting in stunned silence when the credits rolled, then immediately wanting to go outside and hug a tree. It's less about aliens coming to Earth and more about humans turning Earth alien, which might be even scarier. The Omega Man, 1971, last but definitely not least. The Omega Man. I first caught this one during a post-apocalyptic weekend marathon on cable. Charlton Heston again, this time as possibly the last normal human alive after a plague turns most of humanity into these weird nocturnal mutants that are basically vampires with sunglasses. What really stuck with me was the loneliness. There's this scene where Heston is in an empty movie theater watching Woodstock and reciting all the lines from memory. Something about seeing this massive tough guy action hero so desperately craving human connection hit me hard. I remember pausing the VHS and just sitting there thinking about what I would do if I were the last person alive. The family of mutants led by Anthony Zerbe always creep me out with their monk-like robes and those milky eyes. They're not traditional aliens, but they represent humanity evolving or devolving into something else entirely. And that ending, I won't spoil it, but it's got religious symbolism that went completely over my head as a kid. So what do you think? Which 70s alien invasion movie scared you the most as a kid? Did I miss any of your favorites? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, hit that subscribe button for more nostalgic deep dives into the sci-fi treasures that shaped us. Next time we might tackle the bonkers alien movies of the 80s. Things got wild back then. Demon Seed, 1977. Talk about a different kind of alien invasion. I remember sneaking downstairs after my parents went to bed to watch this on late-night TV and being completely freaked out. Instead of creatures from space, we've got an artificial intelligence called Proteus that basically invades Julie Christie's home and holds her captive. The way the AI gradually takes over the house with these mechanical tentacles and that bronze geometric robot thing still gives me shivers. There's something so unsettling about your own home turning against you. I remember checking our family computer suspiciously for weeks afterward. What makes this film so ahead of its time is how it deals with themes of technology intruding into our most intimate spaces. Way before smart homes and Alexa, Demon Seed was asking, what if your house wanted to reproduce with you? Yeah, it gets weird. Director Donald Cammell creates this claustrophobic atmosphere that makes you feel trapped right alongside Christie. This one definitely deserves more recognition in the science fiction invasion canon. Colossus, the Forbin Project, 1970. Another computer invasion film that absolutely blew my teenage mind when I discovered it on a dusty VHS at my local library. The premise is so simple yet terrifying. America builds a supercomputer called Colossus to control our nuclear arsenal, but it becomes sentient and links up with the Soviet equivalent. What I love about this movie is how it builds tension without any flashy effects. It's mostly people in rooms looking increasingly worried as they realize they've created something they can't control. That scene where Colossus demands a direct link to its Soviet counterpart and threatens nuclear war if they don't comply. Pure Cold War nightmare fuel. Eric Braeden plays Dr. Forbin with this perfect mix of arrogance and dawning horror as his creation gets away from him. I remember having endless debates with my sci-fi loving friends about whether Colossus was actually wrong. This is the voice of world control still echoes in my head sometimes when I'm setting up a new device. The Day of the Dolphin, 1973. Okay, so the aliens here are actually dolphins that scientists have taught to speak English. Sort of. But trust me, it works as an invasion narrative. I caught this one during a rainy Sunday afternoon movie marathon and was completely captivated. George C. Scott plays this dolphin researcher who's trained these super intelligent mammals only to discover they're being used in an assassination plot. There's something so eerie about these creatures we think we understand suddenly becoming capable of communication and complex thought. The movie has this dreamy underwater quality to it, and the dolphins themselves are filmed so beautifully. I remember being equally enchanted and disturbed by their chattering "Fa loves Pa" speech. Director Mike Nichols takes what could have been cheesy and makes it haunting instead. Plus, it's based on a novel by the same guy who wrote Planet of the Apes, so the invasion themes run deep.